Hello, lovely humans, and welcome back to my channel. If you are watching this on Wedding Chicks or over on Facebook, thank you so much for stopping by. So today we are going to talk about one of the funnest parts of a wedding, and that is the booze. If you're having a dry wedding, this video probably won't be very helpful for you, so I apologize in advance. But if you are providing your own alcohol for your event, there are a ton of resources online to help you figure out how much you're supposed to buy and the ratios of each and how much a bottle serves and those sorts of things. But what those calculators don't tell you is so many other factors that affect what you should purchase for your wedding day. So of course, in natural Jamie fashion, I put together a list of items that you should take into account when putting together your BYOB for your big DAY. Man, I'm cheesy. So without further ado, let's jump right on in. Also, it's super windy out today, so I'm hoping that my audio comes across okay, but if you hear any sort of like loud whirring noise in the background, have no fear, the Santa Ana winds are here, which means my skin is cracking and my hair is crazy. But welcome to fall/winter in Southern California. The first thing you'll need to consider when purchasing your alcohol for your big day is the time of day that you're hosting your event. People tend to drink less during the day, so if you are having a brunch wedding or a daytime wedding, you don't need to purchase as much as those calculators tell you. If you're having a nighttime wedding, then, go with the numbers provided. But if you're having something earlier in the day, consider shaving off about 10% of what the calculations show you. The second thing you'll need to consider is the season in which you're hosting your event. If you are getting married in spring or summer, people will naturally gravitate towards something that is clear. They'll go for more Chardonnays instead of Cabernets. They'll go for vodka instead of whiskey. So while some of those calculators may tell you that you need 40% white wine and 60% red, when it comes to a summertime wedding, you'll actually need to adjust those numbers because people are going to want to drink white wine over red when it's blazing hot outside. If you're having your event in the fall or winter, then you can kind of keep the calculations where they're at. The third thing you'll need to consider is where you're getting married. So if you're getting married in wine country, people are naturally going to gravitate towards drinking more wine. Also, side note, you could probably get some discounts from some local wineries, which is obviously extremely helpful when you're purchasing all of your own alcohol. So if you're getting married in wine country, obviously have wine. If you're getting married in a big city, then consider craft beers from a local brewery or upscale martinis and fancy drinks that I know nothing about. I don't know. I don't think I've ever had a martini. Another story for another time. The next thing you should think about when putting together alcohol for your own event is who's serving it. And this is a huge factor when it comes to calculating how much alcohol you're gonna need to buy. Because if you have a self-serve station, people are going to drink more. They're gonna pour more into their glasses because they have no chill and there's no one there to watch them. It's like leaving a child next to a cookie jar without a parent in attendance. Like, they're gonna eat more cookies. They're gonna pour more alcohol into their glasses just because it's not what they do for a living and they don't know how much they're supposed to pour. So self-serve stations means you go through alcohol a lot more quickly. So you'll need to add on more to your calculations to make sure you have enough to get through the night. Within that same thread, if you have an amateur serving your alcohol, they also don't know how much to pour. We had someone serving alcohol at our event, and while she was a server by trade, she was not a bartender. So she ended up pouring the biggest glasses of wine, and everyone walked away with like half a glass of wine in their cup, and we ended up running out of wine right as the event ended. And I thought I bought extra because I was like, ooh, I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna buy a bunch extra, so when it's left over, I can have wine for the next few months after my wedding. Brilliant, right? Nope, it was all gone. People drank it all because she was pouring such big glasses. So if you do not have a professional bartender serving it for you, you do need to add on extra because it will go a lot more quickly. Along those same lines, if you are having a bartender at your event, whether professional or non-professional, you'll need to take your guest count into account. You should have one bartender for every 50 guests and one barback for every 75 guests. You may need to add on more if you are offering mixed drinks, and here's why. Obviously, a mixed drink takes longer to make, which means if you don't have enough staffing, then people are gonna be waiting in line for a very long time. So if you are offering a bunch of hard alcohols and a bunch of different mixed drinks, you need to bring on more bartenders. The next thing you will need to consider is ice. And this is something I've talked about in videos before. A bunch of people forget ice, and that's something that you're obviously gonna need to keep your beverages cool. The general rule of thumb here is about 1 pound of ice per person, but what that doesn't tell you is that's usually when you are serving mixed drinks. If you are not having a hard alcohol at your event, you will not be putting any ice physically into drinks, and you'll just need them for coolers and storage tubs to keep your beverages obviously nice and cool. The flip side of that, however, is if you're having it outside in summer, that ice is gonna melt a lot more quickly. So you may need to up your ice count to about 1.5 pounds to 2 pounds per person, depending on your location, time of day, how hot it's going to be out that day. So take all of those things into account when purchasing ice for your event. Or if you're in an area like ours, we actually have a company called the Ice Taxi, and they will deliver ice to your event. They'll tell you how much you need, they'll talk you through storage containers, those sorts of things, and give you a great estimated count of how much ice you should be ordering, and then bring it to you for your wedding, which is insane. Freaking love the Ice Taxi. They're so rad. So look and see if you have anything like that in your area that can help you figure out exactly the amount that you should be ordering. And then comes the next part. Where are you going to put the ice? How are you going to keep your beverages cool? Big galvanized tubs or coolers or a refrigerator. All of those are fantastic options, but they are all limited on space. When you go to your venue, take a good look around at the space and see where the refrigerator is. Ask if you have access to them. Take a peek inside and see how much you actually can fit inside of them, because if you bring 163 bottles of wine and, I don't know, 20 cases of beer and there's one refrigerator, that's not going to be a lot of space. So think through the storage of where you're going to keep all these beverages cool, because nobody wants a beer that's been sitting out in 80-degree heat, because that's just gross. Ugh. In addition to that, make sure that your beverages get into the cooling space at least 2 hours before the serving begins, because that'll give it enough time to cool down to a palatable temperature instead of, 80-degree beer, which is nasty. Ain't nobody want that. The last thing you need to consider is you and your group. If you are not wine drinkers, then don't pay attention to the statistics that tell you need 60% wine and 40% beer, because that doesn't work for you guys, so adjust according to your liking. Oftentimes, those calculators will tell you that you need a whiskey, a vodka, and a tequila. But if you are a gin drinker, then switch out one of those alcohols. You know yourself and you know your crowd better than any sort of generic calculator or any chick on YouTube ever can. So when putting together your own bar, keep your own tastes in mind. I know for us, I'm a big fan of Pinot Noirs and Chardonnays, so I made sure that I had those available. But I also knew that we had a couple of winos in our group, so I had a cab or two available for people to enjoy. Even though it wasn't my jam, I knew our crowd pretty well. My husband also has a lot of beer drinkers on his side, so we made sure to have a lot of IPAs for all the hipsters and a lot of lighter beers for those who wanted to pace themselves. So consider all of these things when purchasing alcohol for your event. The time of day, the location, the season, who's serving it, how much ice you're gonna need, and where it's gonna be stored, and who you guys are and what you want to serve on your wedding day, because this is your big party and you get to plan it however you want to. So that's all we have for today, folks. Thank you so much for stopping by. I hope you found this video helpful and it gave you a couple of quick tips on putting together your own bar for your wedding. As always, a huge shout out to my gal pals over at Wedding Chicks for hosting this video. And until next week, bye guys. If you're watching my second channel, then you know why I'm very excited to be wearing this shirt. You should go check it out. I'll link it here.